How's it going, guys? How you guys doing? Do me a favor. Give a big round of applause for our MC, Lewis. He comes out here, he does all the warm-ups. There's a reason why we put him in that position, and it's probably also because all of our budget goes into his wardrobe. So, all right, you guys are having a good time, right? You guys know why we're here. I'm about to bring out a gentleman who you guys know as the King Ezekiel from The Walking Dead. You know him as Cyborg from Teen Titans Go, Young Justice, so many other projects. He's a fan favorite. Ladies and gentlemen, make the biggest noise possible for the one and only Khary Payton.
Hello, everybody. Hey, look at you. Jinx showed up. That's so cool. I just walked past you. But my kids and I are obsessed with Arcane. My son, he was like, Dad, during Christmas, we got to watch this. I want to sit there. I want to watch you watch this. And I was like, all right. It is one of the most amazing series I've ever seen. Who's Dave? I'm here to set up a GoFundMe for Dave. I feel like Dave needs, some therapy, a little trauma support. It's all right. It's all right. We've already picked on somebody for coming in late. You're gonna be just fine. I just want you to know, Dave, I'm late too. Oh, exactly. I'm right there with you, man. You're gonna be okay.
I like the idea of doing like a crowdfunding just for con therapy.
There you go.
Yeah. For when people like Lewis pick on people in the audience.
It happens very rarely, but this was the room. This is the room that it happened in. I love it.
You mentioned Arcane real quick too, and how your kids are into that. Do your kids ever ask you why are you not a voice on that show?
No, they're. I think that they're like, that's enough, Dad. You're doing enough. They go in and out of thinking I'm cool. It's sometimes they're very over it. My daughter would especially when The Walking Dead was on because people recognize my face more, and I would get stopped more, and boy, she didn't like it. She was like 7, and she'd just sit there. And I'm just trying to be nice. I'm like, hi, where you coming from? Where do you watch the show? Do you watch it with the family? And she was like, stop asking them all these questions, Daddy. It's my time right now. And literally, she is a powerful little human being, because when the show was over, she said, Dad, because we live in Los Angeles, but we shot in Atlanta, and I would just fly home when if I had more than 3 days off, I just flew home a lot. But she hated that I would have to go to Atlanta, and so after that show was over, she said, Daddy, that's it. You have to work in Los Angeles. You can't work anywhere else. And I said, okay, babe, you got it. And in my head, I was like, all right, I'm not going to be able to keep that promise, but whatever. But I swear to you, it's been 3 years since we finished shooting the Walking Dead, and every major job that I have gotten has shot in Los Angeles, and nothing shoots in Los Angeles anymore. I've been working on a video game called Marvel 1943. I play World War II era Black Panther, and Captain America and Black Panther go on this awesome adventure. It's created by the woman who did the Uncharted series. It's fantastic. Comes out next year. Go see it. But that's as far as I drive. I go about 45 minutes away from my house. I've gotten 4 other big jobs. They've been 10 minutes from my house. It's crazy. I was like, what else do you want, babe? She was like, I want a bigger room for my house. So I swear to God, we found a bigger room with a house with a bigger room. So, if you really want to know what I'm doing next, you should probably ask her.
Yeah. It's some kind of she's got some kind of futuristic ability where all you got to do is ask her what she wants, or just tell her to wish for something that you want.
Seriously.
And it's going to end up happening.
Yeah, I need to Jedi mind trick her into, asking for things that I want, a faster car. Although I got too many kids now, I had to sell the convertible and get the big 8-seater, so that people could put their feet up. There's 6 of us in there, but every once in a while a dog's got to come too. So, yeah. Yeah, so now we're just into big people moving for the next couple of years.
So you were here all day yesterday. You're here today. How has the Colorado crowd been treating you since you've been here?
Everybody's been great. It was quiet and chill on Friday, which was nice because because the people who had never come before weren't overwhelmed, by the amazing cosplay and and the throngs of people. So I think that Colorado Springs Comic-Con is kind of got that perfect mix. It's not too much, but it's always enough to be able to say hello to everybody and make sure everybody feels like they're having enough time. So I kind of love that about it here. Also, I haven't succumbed to the air elevation situation.
We were just talking about that backstage. Like the altitude sickness.
I went ziplining in the morning yesterday, and then came out here. So I was hiking around in the hills a little bit, and it was funny because the person who was guiding me through the zip line was just you never know who's gonna fall behind, because it just kind of hits. No matter what kind of shape you're in, and I noticed she was in better shape than me, but she was like, this is embarrassing. It was like every once in a while, one of those days, it just hits you, And actually, I'll tell a story of when I saved my brother's life, because he's a doctor who actually saves people's lives, and I only pretend to do it on TV, but I actually did it this one time. We were skiing in Breckenridge years ago, and we like idiots, we were like, let's get up there as fast as we can. So we just busting our butt, winding up there, get up there, get our stuff on, and we're snowboarding down, and he's a better snowboarder than me, but we started like right next to each other. He usually always is making it down a little faster than me. The next thing you know, he's a little bit further behind me. Next thing you know, I'm sitting there waiting. I was like, when is he coming down this hill? And I was like, are you all right? And he was like, I'm fine, because doctors are the worst patients, right? And so he was like, I'm fine. And I was, and then he goes, hot, and spit something out. And I was like, is that normal? That kind of yellow? And he was like, yeah, it's normal. It's not. It's pulmonary fluid. And so by the middle of the night the next day, that night, I'm just hearing, and I wake up, and he's going through the yellow pages. That's how long ago this was. Because we were in an Airbnb or something. It was like the yellow pages in there. And he was like trying to find, and I was like, what are you looking for? And he was like, I think I might need oxygen. Sometimes you can, they have those up here because of the elevation. And I was like, maybe I should drive you. And he was like, no, don't worry about it. Go back to bed. I was like, I think I should drive you, dude. So, and it's maybe an hour, like a mile and a half down the mountain to get to the hospital. And it took us like 2.5 hours because like 5 minutes after we got on the road, like the sky opened up and it just like started dumping snow, and I'm just sitting there, it's like, you remember Batman Begins, and he's like, Rachel. It was like the slow version of that. It was like, I was like, you gonna be all right, man? He was like, shut up. And I was like, we just tried to get down there, and right before he fell into a coma, we got him oxygen, and then we get him back to the house. And our little brother, who's an automotive engineer, who literally drives in these conditions for a living, we probably should have had him drive. But he just woke up feeling refreshed. He was like, "Oh, how was your night? Why's he got oxygen up his nose?" Yeah. So that was when I saved my brother's life. So there you go.
All right, so let's dive into The Walking Dead.
Let's tell more some family stories. No, I'm sorry.
I could go easily into more stuff, but let's talk about, I'm sure these guys want to talk about The Walking Dead. What drew you to the character of Ezekiel? Were you a fan of the comics already before it happened, or what drew you to the character?
They offered me the job. I love this question because it assumes that I was not a dude who was out here hustling, just trying to find my way, make my way. I've been in LA for 14, 15 years, I had done 9 pilots, 8 of which never got on the air. One that got, two got on the air. One I got fired from after the first episode. One got canceled after the first episode. And the other 8 never saw the light of day. So I'd been working in LA, but nobody knew who I was. I'd only been doing, and this was back when, I guess it was just starting that people noticed who voice actors were, because I'd been lucky and was doing Cyborg, and I'd done other voices like Young Justice and like Transformers and G.I. Joe and stuff like that. But still you're getting out there every day and you're hustling people ask me, what drew you to the character? Man, what drew me to the character is that they might hire me. I was about to say something else, but I was looking around for children in the audience. I think we're okay. But yeah, now don't get me wrong. I feel like I had been training to play Ezekiel for my entire acting career. I had done all of this theater in my 20s, and a lot of Shakespeare festivals and stuff like that. And then in my 30s, I started doing voiceover. And so when I got the audition for Ezekiel, it was this really long monologue mostly, and I was just like, and they talked about how he became a different person. But they didn't say what changed. They said it was just like right out of the comic books. He slumped in his chair and he became a different man. And in my head, I heard him speaking differently, but it never said that in the script. And I think that might have been why I got the part, because that's what came to me, but it was never part of the direction.
Yeah, and that was going to be something I was going to ask too, because Ezekiel is a very theatrical character. So I was going to ask if there was any theatrical experience of your own personal that you did bring into the character when you were developing him.
Yeah. It's funny. I have an uncle, my great uncle Neb, and Neb was like he was like 300 something pounds, these tree trunk legs, but they were little tree trunk legs, but they were just full of muscle because they had to hold all the rest of the 300, and so but he was kind of this stately, but interestingly formed fellow, and but he had this slow kind of southern Savannah drawl, and he would always say, "Khary, tell me about your school," and he was my first impression. And when I thought of doing Shakespeare or something like that, I always felt like I had to kind of imbue it with Neb, And so Neb was that side of Ezekiel, and then you had my Uncle Smay and my Uncle Kurt, and Uncle Smay and Uncle Kurt were much more relaxed, Uncle Smay was so relaxed that if you didn't know him well, you wouldn't understand a word he was saying, You'd be like, "Hey, man, come down here and tell me about what's going on here." And so between Neb and between Smay, it was like those are the two kind of pendulum swings, as far as Ezekiel was concerned. So I feel so once again, it was like I was bringing a lot of, and I think if you're doing it right, you're always trying to bring, a piece of yourself to the characters, because there are always hundreds of people auditioning for these things. So don't try to bring something, that somebody else is going to do. You want to, I find that it always works best when I'm giving that part of myself that really can't come from anywhere else. Yeah.
Okay. There is a microphone here in the center, so if you do have any questions for Khary, feel free to line up, and we'll make sure to get to them.
I barely recognized you without your other 4 arms. But yeah, but I see it. Doc Ock, everybody.
Yeah. Before we go to the questions, though, real quick, one final one for me. Ezekiel survived till the end of The Walking Dead.
Oh my God, dude! There are people in here who have. I'm sorry, dude.
I'm
sorry. He was joking. He was joking. I may or may not live to see the end of the series. I'm just kidding.
I think we're past the spoiler.
You know what? But here's the thing. Every time I come to a convention, what I love about it living online is that there's somebody who comes to me and be like, dude, I had never seen The Walking Dead until like 2.5 months ago. And I just sat there, with, their beard is down to here. They haven't shaved. They've and they have just binge watched the show. And I love that there are people that the show is, not even shoot anymore. And they literally have run through this whole thing and have just become a fan. So then
I should ask, is there anybody here who I just spoiled something
Yes,
for?
of course you did. Yes, look at a boom.
So sorry.
Let this be a lesson, Benjamin. And David.
See, now we have to get the Kickstarter going because the con therapy needs to happen.
There are two more people who've been traumatized. Who knew?
Then you know what? I'm finished. We're just gonna go right to the audience question.
It's okay. Trust me, there are so many people that die on the show. You will still get your heart ripped out at some point.
100%.
Just know that it may or may not be me.
But we'll go to the audience.
Ben at this point is like, okay, I'm gonna shut up and just let somebody else.
I'm just gonna walk backstage and just let Khary take over for the rest of the panel.
Hey, Khary.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. My question is what's your favorite Cyborg moment?
Oh, man.
There's so many.
I don't know. The day I got hired? Actually, that's funny. One of my favorite Cyborg moments is Greg Sipes, who plays Beast Boy, and he and I, we had never done a voiceover job before he was Beast Boy and I was Cyborg. And I remember him leaning over to me and being like, dude, I've never done this before. And I was like, dude, I've never done this before either, man. He was like, really? This is crazy. Meanwhile, you have Starfire, Tara and Hendon and Scott, who've been doing it since they were like 13, and me and Greg were the newbies, which kind of worked because Cyborg and Beast Boy are like two peas in a pod. But when the first show got canceled, Greg would call me and he'd be like, Khary, I think Teen Titans should come back. And I was like, yeah, I think the Teen Titans should come back too. And he was like, all right, that's great. So we agreed on that. And he was and he would just call me or text me every once in a while. He was like, hey, Khary, have you heard anything? Are we coming back? And I was like, no, I hadn't heard anything, but all right. And then and we did The Sims for a while, the video game. We would do like the Simlish, like Scott and Greg and I. We all did voices on there, and so every once in a while we fly up to San Francisco to do that. And he would be like, Khary, have you heard anything yet? And I was like, no, I hadn't heard anything. And he was like, but we're gonna do Titans again, right? And I was like, yeah. I remember we were sitting on the plane, and he was like, so it's agreed. It's agreed. And I was like, yep. And he shook my hand. It's agreed. And this went on for, I don't know, like a year. And then I happened to be at WonderCon in Anaheim, California for another show. I don't know if it was Young Justice or maybe Transformers or something. But he was but I was standing in the back of the panel for DC Animation. And the president of animation, Sam Register, was he kind of walked over to me. I didn't even realize he was there. I was just seeing what other things were going on in the lineup. I wasn't on the panel or anything. And he was like, Khary, come over here. And I was like, you want to know a secret? I was like, yeah, sure. Tell me a secret. He was like, we're gonna bring back Titans. And he was like, it's not going to be the same. It's going to be a little different, but we're bringing back Titans. And right when that happened, I got on my phone, and it was a text from Greg, and he was like, hey, Khary, have you heard anything? Are we coming back? I swear to you, I live with magical people, man. I got magical people in my world. But that is a true story, and I remember showing Sam. I was like, "Can I tell him?" He was like, "Yeah, go ahead and tell him." Yeah, but it was crazy. It was crazy stuff.
Bring a season 6 of the original.
Yeah, you know what? The way I see it is, I feel like we're kind of like the Scooby-Doo of when I grew up. Like I don't really remember a time that there wasn't Scooby-Doo. I know that there was a time that there wasn't Scooby-Doo, but I don't remember it. And I feel like now kids growing up now, like there was a time that there was not Teen Titans, but they don't remember it. And there's always going to be a version of Teen Titans. And I feel like you give it enough time, we're gonna get us some season 6. You know, so I just say keep putting it out there, man.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was very late to the game when it came to Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go. The first thing I ever saw, a friend of mine actually drugged me to the movies, and I went and I saw Teen Titans Go to the movies.
That's a good way to get into it.
Let me tell you, I'm a big fan of the DC and the Marvel and everything. Yeah. That still, to me, is one of the funniest movies I have ever seen in theaters.
Those jokes were coming out of my mouth most of the time, but we wrote that movie 3 different ways. Like we wrote 3 different movies pretty much, and then we just started playing with it and moving it around. And because we were normally doing these like 7-minute episodes, so you kind of have to figure out how you stretch that out to 90 minutes and make it funny all the time and keep it going and let this string of a story move through it the whole time. There were 2 bad movies that we didn't make before we got to the one that actually went out there, and I'm so proud of it because by the time we finished it. And I remember taking my family, they had a little screening for us to watch the movie, and I am on the floor laughing my butt off. And I was just so proud, that we were able to make a movie as funny as that is.
It became an even bigger experience for me too, because I'm a massive Back to the Future fan. So all of the Back to the Future jokes with you guys going, I don't want to spoil anything else, so I'm not going to go into the details.
Well,
in case.
Here's the thing that you need to know about Teen Titans or Teen Titans Go is that we stopped writing that show for kids like about by episode 30. And we've done 450 episodes at this point. It's like all of these references are just so that the parents will keep the TV on. So it's like, that we do like an oral, we were talking about an oral history, and I started talking about Oral Hershiser, the pitcher for the LA Dodgers, like in the 90s or in the 80s. And so, so it's like all of this stuff that kids, half the parents don't know what the world we're talking about. But we've got references from like the 80s, 90s, and now from the 2000s because all of these kids have grown up, and so that's what we're all about. We're trying to find like another way that the parents from the kitchen will be like, wait, what did he just say? That's all we're trying to do.
Were jokes like that written for you, or were you able to like improvise behind the microphone?
I have been fired from at least one show because of my irreverence for the written page. Because I've been doing Titans for so long that we get the script, and most of the time, all 5 of us are there. And we get the script, and then we start screwing with each other and playing with the script, and I'll get an idea, and I'll blurt something out, and we just blurt stuff out, and next thing you know, they wrote an episode about something that we were talking about in the last session that has nothing to do with that. The whole reason that we have all of these episodes on the Night Begins to Shine song it was like a 7-second snippet that one of the producers found, and it was just on Cyborg's alarm clock, and it was like and I turned and I was like, time to get up, and Hendon, who plays Starfire, was like, what's that song? Play that song. And we started playing that song over and over. We were like, where did you find this? And it was just the weirdest. These guys, this dude who owned like an auto shop in Washington D.C. A musician, his car broke down, and they started talking. Turns out the mechanic used to sing in a band, and the musician was like, hey, if I send you some stuff, would you play? And they sold that to Warner Brothers as like just to be in their like catalog. Nobody had ever heard of this song. We ended up making 10 episodes out of this song because it reminded us of like a rock opera from the 80s. And so we just don't care. If there's an idea, we're like, what was that? Are you eating a sandwich? Is it good? Does it have mayo on it? We can make an episode out of that. It was like that was like one of the first episodes was like legendary sandwich, and it was I think it was just because somebody was hungry. But yeah, I'm pretty sure there was that show that I got fired off of. I think I kept blurting stuff out, not understanding that that's not the way they work, and they were like, "We're gonna need to send Khary home," but I swear that we just don't care in Teen Titans as long as it's funny. So they may write something, we'll rewrite it. The artists will take what we've done and they'll come up with new bits that we weren't even thinking about when we were saying them, but it took them on another tangent. So then we come back to the studio and re-record off of what they were drawing. So it's this beautifully fluid process that I feel really grateful to be a part of. You know, there are not many jobs that give you that much freedom, whether it's you know, in entertainment or anything else that gives you that much freedom to play. And so it was funny. We were just doing an episode, and Michael Dorn, who was Worf from Star Trek: The Next Generation, he plays a character. We asked him to come in and do it. And I just kept throwing out crazy shit, and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, Mr. Dorn." He was like, "Call me Michael." Yes, Michael. This is so weird. You're standing in front of me, but he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "You could say anything, and it'll get in the show." He was like, "Really?" I'm gonna try it. So I love that. I was like giving Worf room to play, you know? Oh man, that was awesome.
That's great. All right, let's go to the next question.
That actually ties in with my question really well. I was going to ask about your time on Critical Role.
Yeah.
So how was it playing Dungeons & Dragons in front of hundreds of thousands of people live?
You know what's crazy is that I had never played Dungeons & Dragons as a player. I'd only been a DM for my kids, right? But Matt Mercer and I was like hanging out with him in a parking lot after we were recording a video game, and he was like, "You ever play Dungeons and Dragons?" I was like, "No, I thought about it when I was a kid, but I didn't really have anybody to play with, and so you know, me and my brothers just beat up on each other instead of coming up with fun fantasy reasons to beat up with each other." So, and he was like, "You should try it." And I was having fun with it. Liam then was at. He was like, "Did you do that? Did you play?" I was like, "Yeah, I played with my kids. It was a lot of fun." And next thing I know, they were like, "You want to come play with us sometime?" And I was like, "Sure." And I sat at a coffee shop and made up this character. I had been on The Walking Dead for a couple of years, and I'd been shaving my head. And before I was on The Walking Dead, I had this nice puffy afro. You know what sucks? When you shave your head, and then you're like, I'm gonna get my afro back, and your afro just don't come back the same way as it used to. I know. And so I told Matthew, I was like, "Man, I miss my afro. If I do a character, can I have a big puffy afro?" And he was like, "Yes." And so Shikasta, who I based on Shaka Khan and Shaka Zulu, and then I was like, but I can't just call him Shaka. So I was like, Shikasta. I was like, yeah, there you go. So I made him Shikasta. And he's like this cleric who's blind, but, and also in LA, there are hummingbirds everywhere, and I love them. I love them because of the way they move, but also I would leave my windows open and they would fly into my house. And I've never seen anything more pissed off than a hummingbird in my house. They're just so mad. They're like, "What am I doing in here?" I was like, "Dude, I didn't do this to you." And so I was like, so I wanted to be able to see through the eyes of a hummingbird because I loved the Beastmaster when I was a kid, and he got to see through a bird. I want to see through a bird. God, you gotta love Dungeons and Dragons. You just get to make up shit and be it. And I just got more and more excited. And by the time I got to Critical Role that night, I kind of forgot that anybody was watching, you know. And the last thing was, I always want to have a fun voice to play with. since I do a lot of voices and voiceover, and my brother had just sent me this video of Bootsy Collins in the 70s singing this song, I'd Rather Be With You. And before he started singing, before he started even really getting into playing the song, he just had this monologue. And he was like, and his shirt was off, and he had this bass guitar in the shape of a star. It was silver in the shape of a star. And he was like, everybody, I want everybody to calm down right now because I'm about to take this bass and I'm about to take you to a crazy place, baby. In a space place with my space bass. And I was just like, I'm gonna talk like this dude. And so that's how when I sat down and Matthew always asks, and this person comes out of the shadows and Khary, what does everybody see? And I was like, well, I suppose the first thing that you notice about me. And Sam was like, oh no. He can't have a better voice than me because he was playing like this tiny little goblin, and it was so much fun. But yeah. So that's what I love about it. When I get into it, I just kind of forget. And when you're doing it right, there's nothing better than forgetting where you are and being just totally immersed. I mean, there's nothing like that. Nothing like going to a theater or sitting in front of your television or even playing a video game and forgetting that everything else is there and just being, kind of sucked in there, just as much for you guys. I feel like it's the same way for me, when you have that energetic connection between you and the audience and you guys are in it, and you can wake up after a minute and be like, what a crazy roller coaster ride, That's how I remember it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing? What's your question?
Two things. One, hi, Mr. Payton.
How you doing, man? You know what? I've been so busy. I haven't seen Superman. I'm going tonight. I'm so excited.
I was just going to ask you that. Have you seen the movie
I
yet?
haven't, and I'm dying. I'm dying to see it. You know what? I didn't know that I was really excited about seeing Superman until that dog.
Yeah.
Until they shut it, and I had no idea I needed Super Dog in my life. But when that dog when he gave him the cape and he drug him, and I was like, I gotta see that movie. Yeah, so please, no spoilers.
I'm not gonna say.
I have mere hours before I am sitting in a dark theater.
There's a part that you really. I'm not gonna.
Yes,
do it.
exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm not gonna do it.
I'm sorry, but you had a question.
It is very good. That is all I will say.
Okay, cool. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I was going to say that, so in the new DCU, James Gunn has announced they are doing a Teen Titans movie.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, if he were to approach you and the other voice actors for the Teen Titans, would you be willing to make cameos in the movie?
Once again, I love this question because let's see, would I be willing? First of all, I would have to check my schedule, and if they called, I would say schedule. And I would be like, I don't know if I can fit you in. Hell yeah, absolutely, without question. I'd be like, even if my daughter was like, where does it shoot? We'd be like, I don't care where it shoots, baby. We're gonna go do this movie. Yes.
I was actually just gonna say, I'm like, is it shooting in LA? Was another question.
Right. No. Yeah. No. That would be a dream come true. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would definitely love to see you and the other Titans in that movie. And fingers crossed they have the theme song from the 2003 show.
Oh yeah, man. Absolutely. We're definitely gonna make that happen.
Yes.
I have no control over these things. But I was like,
All right, you have a great day.
thank you.
Mr. Payton.
Absolutely. Come to me tomorrow. We can talk about the movie. I'm gonna be very excited.
I'm just gonna keep texting you and be like, did you hear anything yet?
I'm turning off my phone right now. Yeah.
Please, what's your question?
Hi there. Thank you for coming to Colorado.
Thank you. I love Colorado, by the way. I am a mountain sort of dude. So I love me some mountains. I love hiking. I love the lakes. I love skiing down them. So yeah, every once in a while I come here and I was like, I should stay here. And then I don't. I got a feeling one of these days I'm gonna end up staying here. Where's a good place to end up finding a place? Where's a good spot out here? Somebody told me Idaho Falls was a good spot.
Telluride.
Telluride. I've heard of Telluride. I could try that. Say Falcon? No. Everybody's shaking their head no to that. All right. Do I trust the one person or the entire room? Okay.
It's close to Telluride.
Telluride? Hooray? Okay.
They're all together, like Silverton, Ouray, Telluride.
Those will work.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. I like this. Thanks, guys. Let's talk about it. Let's keep this conversation going.
I'm
love
East
it.
Coast. I have no input.
Yeah, no. We're not listening to Ben. No, absolutely. Don't worry, Dave. I got you.
Well, in contrast to the dry air here, my question was memories and thoughts about filming in Sonoya.
Oh, man. You know what? That's a good way to put it, because as dirty and humid and hot as filming in south of Atlanta was, and it is, and I, man, you just never know what's gonna bring it out. But I literally get emotional thinking about it because as a kid, I grew up in Georgia, and I ran around in the woods in the backyard for free, doing that exact same thing, you know, and I'm just kind of even though I'm a voiceover actor, I feel like I'm a very physical actor. Even when I'm standing, and one of the first things I had to stop trying to, or getting myself to stop doing, was moving too much in front of the mic, because you want to stay in front of the microphone. But I just like to engage my body, and I loved being in the muck with everybody. I loved being because the camera guys, the sound people, everybody who makes this thing go, they're in it every day. And to me, and there's brotherhood and sisterhood. And whenever it's a little too hot and it's a little too cramped, or it's a little too this or a little too that, you can always look in somebody's eyes and be like, dude, at least we doing this together, right? And whenever you go and have a beer later on, you can be like, dude, we did that. There were days that we were there for 18 hours, and then sleep a little bit and get up and do it again. And I remember one of the sound guys, he was changing the batteries on my microphone, and I was like, dude, I know this is like hour 17, but man, I'm sorry we're still here, but I'm having such a good time. And I remember, I'll never forget, he was like, Khary, don't apologize. We make magic in 8 days. I never forget that, because every one of those people, one of those filmmakers, the guy at craft service, there's a guy who just took care of like the snacks to keep everybody, when we're shooting. And the cool thing about a film set is that when you find the right people, every one of those guys loves it so much that they take their little piece and they're like, I'm gonna make this perfect for everybody here. And the guy who's my prop guy, who would give me my watch the first day I got there, and was like, he's got like 20. And he was like, this is what I was thinking, man. What do you think? Do you think he would have this kind of watch? Do you think he would? He was in it. And man, there's nothing like being around a bunch of people who love what they do. Because in hour 18, you go home and you're not angry and you're not upset. You kiss your wife, you kiss your husband, you kiss your kids, and they can feel it on you. And that's one of the things that I always hope that I leave when I leave set, that I'm leaving them with that good feeling. Because no matter what long job you work, if you go out of there feeling like, fuck this job, you take that stuff home, and I always want them to take a little joy, and I hope that and I honestly feel like you can feel that from the show, that we were imbuing that thing with love, and that you could feel it in the show. And anyway, I don't even know what your question was. I loved it. I loved every sweaty, dirty fucking shot. I loved it. What you got, man?
I really like your Waffles song from, Teen Titans Go, and I was just wondering what your favorite song was.
What my favorite song is? Oh man, that's you know what? I think my favorite song is Maybe I'm Amazed by Paul McCartney. You should look that up. It starts off kind of slow, and then it gets real anthem-y, and then it comes down again or whatever. But that might be my favorite song. But Waffles, just so you know, I am classically trained, And when I came up with the melody for Waffles, I was like, how can I truly express my love of waffles? And what I thought was, you know what? You have to leave everything else behind. What if there was no other word but waffles? And so waffles, 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 waffles,
Preach, preach,
waffles,
preach. Waffles.
waffle. There you go. Don't say preach, say waffles. Amen. There you go. That's right. There we go. That's how we got there.
All right, we got about 5 minutes left, but let's see if we can get through the last two questions.
All right.
Mine kind of ties to the last question. Did you come up with the burger song from Teen Titans Go?
I did not come up with the burger song, but if ever I will never forget how to make a burger because, you know,
Buns,
you start with the buns, ketchup, pickle, cheese, put that patty in between his burger. What is burger? What? Buns, ketchup, pickle, cheese, put that patty in between his burger. What is burger? Woo! I think I did add the woo. The woo might have come, you know, from a special place in my soul.
All right, as playing as King, since you first showed up to like mostly through the whole season, you were a presence and you passed that along to the camera, like just sitting down in your throne and stuff like that. How do you portray that when you know just meeting a character and all of a sudden he's taking up the whole scene? He's on the same scene with some of these big actors and everyone's drawn to you over these people who've already been established.
I don't know. I think it's it has more to do with the love that you're feeling for your work in the moment. I feel like there are moments in my life where I wasn't necessarily a character or that I was working on. Man, it's like reading your kid a story. It's like what are you passionate about? It doesn't matter what that thing is. There are moments where I remember I was painting a house for you know, it was like an odd job or whatever. But in my mind I was thinking, you know, I started thinking about the people who would grow up in it. You know what I mean? I started thinking about I think the thing that connects anyone to their job is thinking about the end result rather than the kind of the drudgery of the middle of it, you know? Because any job that's worth doing is gonna be hard at some point, you know? But you know, whether it's taking a long time or something, there's something that someone could perceive as hard. But if you think about the end result, you know, I remember my brother would, you know, he was like a car enthusiast. You know, he became an automotive engineer. You know, and that dude, you watch that dude wash a car. I could give a shit about washing a car. I will gladly pay somebody else to wash a car. But that dude, he's thinking of the end result. He thinks of the journey that people take in those cars because when he was in college, he would work for Honda as an intern, and they would literally fly him out to retrofit or upgrade, you know, things that needed to get fixed on cars before they got out on the lot. And that dude was thinking about the kid in the back seat, and he was thinking about where this car is going to take people. And it was like that's the mentality. That's the difference. I always think when I'm doing a job, when I'm playing a character, the reason that I'm filming it is because there's somebody who's going to watch this and I'm never going to meet them. I'm never going to get a chance to meet them. They could be on the other side of the world. And there may be millions of people that watch, but there's somebody who needed this. There's somebody who was like, I walked away from that one. He was like there was a guy who years ago in Denver, oddly enough, he told me about how he quit his job, and he wrote 2 books and was editing a third, and it was this conversation between Ezekiel and Morgan, and Ezekiel and Morgan had gone off the rails as he does, right? And you know, just killing walkers left and right and kind of losing himself. And Ezekiel said, said, what's wrong? You know, we need you. And he said, I'm stuck. And I never forget this moment because Lenny James, the great Lenny James, I knew that he wouldn't look at me in that moment. I knew that he would be looking for truth somewhere, but he wouldn't look at me. And I told, it was the one rewrite I ever got out of Scott Gimple. I was like, if Lenny's not looking at me, I have to say his name. I have to say Morgan. Or no. I have to say, look at me. And Scott was like, no, because Rick says, look at me to Daryl, and, you know, an episode ago, you can't say that. And he was like, if he's not looking at you, just say his name. And I never forget, I looked at Lenny, and Lenny was looking at, and I said, Morgan. And he looked at me, and I said, you are not stuck. And that dude in Denver came, and he was like, man, when you said that, I got up and I told my wife, I got to quit my job. I'm so stuck. I'm not stuck. I'm not going to be stuck anymore. That dude's an editor. He's a book editor now. You know, I don't know what he did before, but he's a book editor now. And it was like, those are the moments that I'm worried about. I can't do that's why I'm in it. That's why I'm in it so much, because there's somebody I'm never going to meet. I'll tell this story again. There have been 2 times in my life I've had a conversation with somebody. I don't remember the conversation, but years later, there's a cousin of mine and a friend of mine, and they were going to kill themselves. And we had a conversation, and I don't know what I said. But they're still here. They're both still here. And I think about that. Everything that I do is that whatever you're doing, you're not doing it for a job. You're doing it for a reason, right? And if you can remember that, and I don't want to bullshit and act like I remember that all the time, but if you can remember that, you're never gonna feel like you're just going through the motions. You know, somebody needed you at that moment, right? I try to think of that. Somebody needs me at this moment.
And did you get to keep your cane?
Say again?
Did you get to keep your cane afterwards?
Oh yeah, I stole that.
I can't think of a better.
It's hanging up in my house. I was like, yeah. There's literally one like in the Smithsonian, I think, where there's like a little Walking Dead thing, and my supposed staff and sword. That's not the real one. That's not the real one.
So I want to apologize for any spoilers that I put out there today. I apologize. But Khary, thank you so much for spending the time with me, for all these wonderful people. Make sure you guys go and visit him at his booth. And don't ruin Superman until tomorrow. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much for coming.